What's up, everyone? SmeeSports here, and well, UFL Week 1 is in the books. 4 good games on Easter weekend. A beautiful weekend outside here in Ohio as well. What more could you have asked for? Well, a couple teams could have asked for a win. A couple teams could have asked for better performances, but that's besides the point. We have football once again, and when football is being played, man, oh man, it's a good time to be alive. So let's take a look at these games. How do these 4 games boil down? How did the style of the UFL compare to the NFL? And what other random thoughts come into my head in these long-form videos? All of that and more will be answered in the coming video here, which will be in 4-5 segments, something along those lines. We'll see. This intro is being re-recorded at the end. I know what I've said to a degree. Editing me will have a field day with this for your enjoyment, the viewer at home. So let's get into this video as we have plenty to talk about. Birmingham Stallions 27, Arlington Renegades 14. Good start for Arlington in this game. Great start. It was the dream start. They led early on, a touchdown from quarterback Luis Perez, found Isaiah Winstead for 51 yards, so pretty decent long range touchdown. You'll see a common theme of that in today's video, just kind of recapping the touchdowns. A lot of longer touchdowns. The way the Spring League works is very different than the NFL, and you're going to see it in some of the stat lines that we mentioned. But I mentioned him a moment ago. We'll bring him back into the spotlight for a second. Luis Perez. Perez has been around these Spring Leagues for a while. Another touchdown to add to the list that he's had. He is one of the better quarterbacks in the Spring League, but still, there's a couple of guys that rank ahead of him going into Week 2, including Matt Corral. Now, Matt Corral, you know him from the NFL. You know him from his college days. He got injured against Baylor in that bowl game early 2022. Got drafted to the Panthers in the 3rd round. Didn't play. Got cut. And now has finally made his way over to playing professional football. His first game that actually counts for something since that Baylor game I just mentioned. And he gets benched. Adrian Martinez, the former Nebraska and Kansas State quarterback, had to come in. Then he got hurt. So Matt Corral, he came back in. The day 1 starter. He showed why he was the day 1 starter for the 2-time USFL champions. 39-yard touchdown near halftime. You saw it everywhere, I'm sure, on social media. The dive right into the padding around halftime. 11-11 going into the half. It was good, and then the onslaught just continued. Matt Corral, he settled in. You had a little bit of a run game now in the USFL, XFL, and now the UFL. The run game really didn't make much of an impact in either of those 2 leagues, and doesn't seem like it will in the UFL. We'll look at CJ Marble's numbers. 18 carries, 67 yards, 3.7 yards per carry. Nothing crazy, but you got to keep in mind, you don't see many 100-yard games in the UFL, USFL, XFL, whatever you want to call these leagues at this point. It's UFL, but obviously I know people are still going to call it the other 2 leagues. 67 yards is not bad at all. I would say 75 is your equivalent of a 100-yard game in this. Not to dumb it down, it's just we don't see it. You'll see in this video, I believe the highest rusher has 85 yards in a game and no touchdowns. His quarterback took away the touchdowns from him. Kind of reminds me of the Eagles, but you'll see when we get to that duo, it's not the Eagles at all. The touchdowns were well deserved from the quarterback. But still, 3.7 yards per carry, not overall the best. Corral will go over his numbers real quick. 12 for 21, 201 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Good enough for an 85.6 QBR. Not too bad, not too good. It's his first game back in a couple of years. As we said a couple of times, you got to cut him some slack. Is what it is. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. Birmingham, they ended up getting the win. Overall, if you include everyone running the ball, not just one individual player, the run game did exist. 36 times ran, 183 yards, and 2 scores, 5.1 yards per carry, while Arlington, 18 for 59, 3.3 yards per carry. That's the difference. There's not much of a run game for one individual player, but when you combine the team, there is some run game. So once again, Birmingham, 1-0. They go into next week. They play at Michigan, who we'll talk about in a little bit, on the 7th at 12 p.m., while the Battlehawks will welcome in the Arlington Renegades as the nightcap game tomorrow evening. It should be a good game in St. Louis. We'll get to the Battlehawks in a minute and A.J. McCarron, but still, good first game. Let's see how the second game could go. A lot of scoring. We'll wait to see. Game number 2, Michigan Panthers 18 versus St. Louis Battlehawks 16. Yep, a lot of scoring. Very much a lot of scoring in this game. All jokes aside, I didn't watch much of this game. I saw one play. We all saw one play. What's the play we all saw? Jake Bates, a guy who hasn't kicked since high school, making a game-winning kick from 64 yards out. That is the play that all of us will remember from this game. What makes it even better is he was iced before that kick. St. Louis, they had the timeout. They were winning. They iced him. He made the kick. So he made 2 in a row from 64 yards out. One counted, obviously, one didn't. But for someone who hasn't kicked since high school, wow. That's an impressive way to get win number 1. It was a slow start for both teams. And again, that really wasn't supposed to be close. It was a 7-point favorite to St. Louis, and a big reason why it was A.J. McCarron. And while he didn't play bad, he didn't play too good. As I say in my notes, both teams were underwhelming in this game. The saving grace for Michigan, I mentioned the quarterback and running back duo. Let's get to it now. Wes Hill, the running back, and E.J. Perry, one of the best 1-2 punches, just for the sole fact of Perry scored the touchdowns, and Hills had the yards. Hills leads the UFL, there it is, the 85 yards, as I said priorly, and 11 carries, 7.7 yards per carry. That is pretty good volume and pretty good results from him. And E.J. Perry, the quarterback, both of his touchdowns were less than 10 yards, but they're 4 and 8 yards. This isn't a tush-push. This isn't just a case of stealing touchdowns from your running back. It's he made something happen, and that is what I like to see from Michigan's team. Obviously, was that enough to win the game? No, you needed that kick at the end of the game to win it. But still, that's promising. But this game, it was just a slugfest going into the fourth quarter, no scoring, and then finally both teams decided, let's just have a scoring party to end things here and make it interesting. Now let's go back to Perry as a quarterback. My word-for-word verbatim from the notes, he left plenty to be desired. 12 for 24, 176 yards and 2 picks, 39.6 QBR with a lost fumble. A lot needs to change at quarterback for Michigan. EJ, he has the touchdowns from the running game. That's his saving grace of the performance. But he needs to fix things soon. UFL is a brutal business. These spring leagues, they will jump from one guy to the other. Just look at the other game. Matt Corral had 1 pick, I think 1 for 5 to start, and he was told to go sit on the bench. If it wasn't for an injury, I don't know if we would have seen him again in that game. Adrian Martinez did not also look the best, but still, my point being proven. You almost had Martinez benched again if it wasn't for the injury as well. It's a brutal business. It's a carousel of quarterbacks. It's a carousel at any position. You got to be on your A game every single week in the UFL, and that's kind of the beauty of it. It's a rotating business that's still football at its core. While this football might be different from the NFL, and why you're seeing kickers being the easiest transition players to the NFL, you can still see some other guys make that jump and still be fine. Think Turpin of the Cowboys from his days in Birmingham in year 1 of the USFL a couple of years ago. Did Alex Magoo do anything this past year? No. Practice squad quarterback. Ben DiNucci from the XFL, practice squad / backup quarterback. A.J. McCarron, backup quarterback / practice squad quarterback. Brandon Aubrey, one of the best kickers in the NFL this past year. Boom. There you go. It's the kickers that seem to be making the impact, as seen as well in this game. Now, is it too soon to say that we have our next Brandon Aubrey? I want to see Bates make a couple more kicks. I don't want one kick to dictate him going on an NFL team, which he's already getting looks, though, to be fair. Let him be consistent. You've got to have a larger sample size. Just think Michael Carter-Williams in basketball. That 1 year he was really good, his rookie year, and then the fall-off was there. Dameon Pierce last year in the NFL had an excellent season in 22. 23, not so much, non-existent. He has now been replaced by Joe Mixon and whoever else is ahead of him on that depth chart. You just gotta, how do I word this in the best way? You gotta see more. You see some good, but you also have to see more. You can't focus on one play. Another equivalent, David Tyree, the helmet catch. If you look at that one play alone, that's a franchise receiver. If you look at the rest of it, you realize, no, that's the only thing he really did in his career. So you got to look at the sample size. That's what I'll say. Not saying he can't go to the NFL and be a great kicker. I'm not saying that at all. I just want to see a little bit more. Now go back to A.J. McCarron. A lot of passing from St. Louis. 37 attempts. He completed 24, 216 yards, and 2 touchdowns. 98.5 QBR. He's still my pick for MVP in the UFL. I think everyone thought going in he had a pretty good shot. I could easily see him being a guy who bounces between St. Louis and some other practice squad to be a backup quarterback. Depending where people go in the draft, this might be a year where he somehow can find himself back into the NFL. I know a lot of these young rookies are going to go high. It just depends how they perform. This is either going to be a great quarterback draft class or a bad quarterback draft class. It just remains to be seen. We know Caleb's going to be one, and then just flip a coin, roll dice, do whatever you want with the next couple of quarterbacks. It could be Jaden Daniels too, Drake May too. All these guys could turn out to be good quarterbacks. All of them can turn out to be bad quarterbacks, and you can be in a situation like the Steelers where they had to bring in a couple guys. If A.J. McCarron does win MVP this year, I would find it hard to believe he doesn't find his way onto an active roster in the NFL next year and will actually play. I don't think that's possible. I think if he plays well like he did in this game, someone's going to give him a shot. I feel like if they don't feel a quarterback they draft is ready, then go with it. I could see him easily going to the Vikings. Their starter, whoever it may be, week 1 doesn't do well. There you go. But still plenty of football to be played. There's plenty of help from McCarron, Edelman, 6 receptions, 60 yards, 1 score. Could it be Ben DiNucci and Ja'Cory Pearson 2.0? I don't know. You tell me. There's still 9 weeks plus playoffs to decide that. Going into next week, St. Louis, they play Arlington on the 6th at 8 p.m. And on the 7th, Michigan, they will host Birmingham. St. Louis is a good team. I will say that. They might be 0-1, but they're one heck of a football team, and we know that. St. Louis, they love their football. We know that when the Rams left and how devastated they were. But if they go home this weekend and don't provide them a full 60 minutes of football, the fans are going to grow a little restless. I have it in my notes here. I'm going to read word for word verbatim. If the Battlehawks play a full game, they win by 20 plus. That was pretty obvious in that game. But it's tough to win when the offense clicks for 15 minutes out of 60, even if the loss came from a miracle kick. I'm going to equate it to what happened in Houston's game in round 2 of the NCAA tournament. They had to play a couple extra minutes because they only played 39. It's hard to win any game if you don't play the full game. So St. Louis, bounce back this week. You have a tough opponent, obviously, in Arlington. But you are the favorite in this game. Win handily and go into week 3 1-1 and showing the world why you are a good team and can compete. It's a young season, but still, a lot left to be desired from St. Louis. But if they can capture the lightning in a bottle that was the fourth quarter, watch out. There can be a very dangerous team come June. Game 3, San Antonio Brahmas 27, the DC Defenders 12. Solid game from San Antonio. Shout out to them. They played an excellent game. Only 1 turnover. We've seen a lot of turnovers, but that's to be expected here. It's a pro league, but guys who aren't ready for that NFL jump yet, but need time. Week 1, not everything's going to be perfect. I equate this to a high school season. If you watch any team's film from week 1 to week 10, it's completely different the way they play. I know my school, if you look at the way they played week 1 compared to week 10, 2 completely different teams. They looked really sharp in week 10. A couple big plays, had a touchdown at the end of the first half that changed momentum on a long bomb down the field. You then had a pick 6, and then you had a safety at the end of the game, which ended up being our last game of the season, compared to then the first game where on the goal line we struggled. Things didn't click. You saw a couple guys trying to get used to each other. I feel like that is what you're going to see in this season, and that's what DC had happening for them in this game. If you put this game in week 10, I feel like they could have come back and easily won this game. That is the beauty of the sport. Any given Sunday, anyone can win. And that is kind of a thing unique to sports. In other things, it's usually your main guys who do the best. You look at music, Your top artists are always going to win the top awards. Your top actors are always going to win the top awards. In football, in basketball, baseball, give them X amount of time, how much ever long the game is. Basketball, you have the 48, football, the 60, baseball, the 9 innings. Whoever has the better day wins the game. And that's the beauty of it. So let's go look at this game from a perspective of just stats. Chase Garbers looked really good. 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, 19 for 25, 118.4 QBR for the Brahmas. Brad Wing, 1 for 140 yards, 1 touchdown on a fake punt with the deep threat man himself. When I say this man is a deep threat, Alex Smollett, he is one heck of a receiver for the future. In all seriousness, now, the big man touchdown was the highlight of the weekend. That was an excellently worked play, but everyone wanted to see a destroying kick. I think we all wanted to see a YouTuber take an actual kick in a pro football game, but we'll get to him in a minute. Anthony McFarland in the backfield did his job. 9 carries, 47 yards, 5.2 yards per carry. I think the UFL, you don't look at the yards, you look at the yards per carry. That is a big stat. In the NFL, you do focus on it, but we're not going to say, oh, Derrick Henry's the running champion with 4.5 yards per carry. Or, rough season for so-and-so, they average 3.5 yards per carry. No, they're going to go and put down on paper, oh, Derrick Henry that year, he ran 2,000 yards. They're not going to say the yards per carry. In the UFL, you need to focus on the yards per carry. Once again, going back to Michigan's running back, 85 yards and 11 carries. If you bump up his volume to compete with some of the other running backs that we've had get almost 20 carries, he's well on his way to $150 compared to the 85. It's sample size in this league. And then let's go to the rest of the grounds. John Tree Kirkland did well, 8 receptions, 61 yards, and a touchdown. Marquez Stevenson added another 40 on 5 catches. Kirkland and Stevenson is a dangerous 1-2 if McFarland keeps doing his job as well out of the backfield. If you add in his yards from there, get him above 60. And then if you can keep incorporating random plays into the offense. If you can keep the defense guessing, that would be huge. Millette, I don't think he's going to catch another touchdown this season. Obviously, it was a fake punt. Everyone knows they have the capability of doing that. Now, is it out of the realm of possibility to see destroying throw football this year? No, not at all. Why not let the YouTuber throw the ball? It could be good for a vlog. There you go. It's good for PR, and why the heck not? If you're playing this kind of fun football, San Antonio plays, why not do it? You're up, you're winning, it helps you win the game. It was a great game all the way around. Like I said, we're still waiting to see attempt number 1 from destroying, and that'd be huge. We've seen a lot of these YouTubers who have the talent not get found. It's great to see one have a chance to do so. It's kind of not in the same way like Mr. Beast, because if you don't know, Mr. Beast was one heck of a baseball player in his high school days, one of the best athletes from his state at the time. He never really got a look. Could he play Savannah Bananas baseball? I easily see him doing that, but only time will tell. Back to the football. Let's go to another season pro of Spring League football. If you mention Luis Perez, you have to have the name Jordan Ta'amu up next to him for guys who have been around. I still remember seeing Ta'amu play for, I believe it was St. Louis in the inaugural XFL season that got cut short due to the virus that must not be named. But 45 pass attempts is a little heavy on a losing effort. I get why. 25 for 45 isn't bad. 235 yards, a league high. Great work from Ta'amu. 1 pick, 60.9 QBR. Gotta get the QBR up. If you can get a touchdown added in there, it's a different game, obviously. But I hate saying that. I hate how that works of, oh, if I score a touchdown, I don't let that touchdown in, it's a different game. Yeah, it is. That's on the basis, 12 points flipped. But if Ta'amu can add a couple touchdowns, he'll look good, and he can get himself in the MVP list. If you're looking at McCarron, what sets him apart is just his ability to throw as well as he did in that little sample size. If you look at that fourth quarter alone, he's MVP. But looking at this game, we're going to go back to that stat line of Garbers. The QBR is right there, 118.4. It's pretty good. But overall, decent game. Didn't get to see much of this game overall, as that was 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock Mass was kind of at the same time, so I'm going to go to Mass and watch the highlights later, which I did to make sure I didn't miss anything going into this video and got to see the beautiful big man touchdown. Next games for DC, they got Houston, and next game for San Antonio, is the Showboats. One more game to recap. Let's get into it. Game 4, Memphis Showboats 18 versus Houston Roughnecks 12. I feel bad for Isaiah Henny. That's where we're going to start here. Obviously, if you watch the game, 18-12, 30 seconds left. Memphis had a punt. Houston was getting the ball back. 2 fumbles, including a muffed punt. The muffed punt came at that time. It went back to Houston. That was the end of the game. You're going to tell the emotion he played with. But then on Monday, after the game, I'll quote the tweet he said, "New week, shake back." And now, when these athletes kind of post stuff like that, you look to the comments and think, okay, it's going to be a lot of, stuff that isn't the best that should be said. No. Quite the contrary. A lot of positive comments of people saying everyone has bad weeks, it happens, you'll bounce back next week. I believe Henny will bounce back. Put him down for a touchdown either this coming week or the following week. He's going to have a big week as he didn't play awfully. He had a couple nice returns. I'd say him getting a couple good returns will happen this week as well. I think he'll be able to shake off what happened. Now looking at the positives of this game. Roughnecks quarterback. Let's try to pronounce this guy's name real quick here. We got Jarrett Guarantano. JG we're going to go with for the rest of this video. We got Garrett G. Played an excellent game. 16 for 21, 157 yards. But the thing that I noticed the most about Jarrett G's game was his ability to escape a collapsing pocket. I believe it was the third quarter. They were trying to drive down the field around midfield. They're going this way on the field. He goes back in the pocket. It collapses. He steps up, evades the tackle, goes to his left, flings to the left hand, gets it out of bounds, incomplete pass, opposed to taking a 5-yard sack. It was stuff like that. His elusivity, we're going to call it, was excellent. He did an excellent job working around that, and that was a big reason why the Roughnecks were in this game. And speaking of the Roughnecks being in this game, Reuben Foster. One heck of a game for Reuben Foster. He is playing himself back into the NFL, clearly. If he keeps this up, Depoy, pretty easily in this league. Easily. 6 tackles, 1 pass defended, and then 1 pick in 1 game. He was banged up a little bit during the game, but he fought. He's nearing 30, and you can't tell it, but you can tell he played in the NFL. You can tell that experience for the former 49er is there. He can make his way back into this league. I can see it. He's in Houston. If he plays well enough, why not go play for the Texans defense? Why not? If the offer is there on a cheap deal for Houston, it would work out really well, I think, for Reuben Foster if he can keep this play up. There's still 9 games to go. Once again, as I said for kicking, and I said for all these stats, it's a small sample size, people. Don't over or underreact to what happened in week 1. This is just 1 game out of 10. Don't be fooled, but also don't give up on your players. And let's go to Case Cookus. They let Case Cookus, and Cookus he did. 23 for 40. Couldn't improve on that, but 204 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 pick. Pretty good. Not bad game for Cookus by any means. Obviously, like I said, can be better. But you're starting to see the trend, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of quarterbacks taking 40-plus passing attempts in this game. A lot less running attempts in this game. Just a lot of a different offense in this game compared to the game that is the NFL. It's weird, but it works. That's why it's going to be rare to see a running back make the jump up from the UFL to the NFL, as this is more of a pass-heavy league. If Cliff Kingsbury wanted to be a head coach again, then why not go to the UFL, get a quarterback who can just launch the ball? If Drew Lock for some reason doesn't work out in New York, which I doubt, I think he'll be just fine. He'll be an NFL backup. And if he comes down to the UFL for some reason, imagine him and Cliff Kingsbury in that air raid offense. Him with, I don't know, just think of a random receiver. Laquan Treadwell. First round pick to the Vikings in 2016. Didn't work out in the NFL. Just him launching the ball deep. You might see a 2,000-yard receiver in the UFL in that offense. And that's just the beauty of it. It's a different style of football, and that's what makes this spring league excellent. And also those talents are guys you don't know well, but Chase Cookus, if your last name is Cookus in 2024 with the let him cook meme, or whatever you want to call it, the idiom, I don't even know the proper term for it at this point, it's marketable. Jordan Tam and Lucas Perez, they're guys who have been around. McCarron, he is marketable. He has been around for a long time. It's a fun league. That's what this is. It's basic. And then let's look at other positives for Memphis in this game. Main positive for Cookus is that he had 5 receivers get to the 30-yard mark. Plenty of room to improve, obviously. But still, that is good. I want to see a lot of guys get involved. I hate when quarterbacks are tunnel vision on one target. You've got to work on your progressions, and based on that stat and based on what I watched, Case Cookus was able to... My Dragons, they're gone. They're gone. I had to pick a new team this year. I have 2 teams. Birmingham, because I saw them play last year at the USFL championship game. And Memphis, because I like the Grizzlies. This Memphis Showboats team is my team for the UFL. And if they play as entertaining football as they did in this game and can improve going into the game against the Brahmas at 12 o'clock tomorrow, I'm excited to see it. And then for Houston, they got DC. Both teams looking to bounce back. That will be the last game of the weekend. And now going into those games, I'll pull back up the calendar real quick just to kind of give you my final predictions going into the game week. We'll pull it up and go here. So, for St. Louis versus Arlington, I'm going to take St. Louis to win 30-16. Will be my score prediction in that game. A.J. McCarron throws for a couple touchdowns, has an excellent game, and plays a full game. And that's what they want to see from him. Next game, Michigan versus Birmingham. The Stallions are going to keep rolling. I don't know if they can be taken down much this year. They'll lose a couple games, I think. But they're going to beat Michigan handily in this game as well. Give me another team to beat 30. Not a lot of 30-point games from anyone. I don't think anyone beat the 30 mark, did they? No. No one did. I'm predicting a second one. In 2 games, 32-10. A field goal early and then a touchdown. We'll go 11. We'll go 11 because I think they're going to go for 2 and that touchdown happens. It'll be towards the end of the game. So there we go. 32-11. The other games, DC and Houston, we're going to see a low-scoring game. It's going to be low-scoring. 20-16 in favor of Houston. Yes, DC is home. Yes, the beer snake will be a factor. That's why I think they're going to jump out to a lead. But Houston's going to make some plays. And who else but Reuben Foster to knock down a pass incomplete to have a turnover on downs towards the end of the game. That's how I feel the game plays out. And San Antonio at Memphis. Destroying. You'll get a field goal or 2. It won't end up being enough. Case Cookus will cook. He'll get up to 27 points for his team. And the Brahmas will be stuck on 22. 5-point game. So 2 close games, 2 blowouts. Pretty similar to how this weekend played out. But with that, that'll do it for today's video. A lot of great things coming up here on the SmeeSports YouTube channel. April 19th, Akron North rolls on into Garfield Heights to take on the Bulldogs in a softball game played in memorial of Skylar O'Neal, a young kid from the Garfield Heights area who passed away last year of rare form of cancer. We'll be broadcasting the game for Garfield Heights. Shout out to Coach Kurt and all of the Bulldog faithful for having me out that night for a great game. It'll be a great cause. If you can, tune in. Please do. If you can go to the game, do so. It'll be at Garfield Heights Middle School on April 19th once again. Gates should open around 5:30. At the latest, 7 o'clock first pitch. Just a lot of festivities. A lot of moving parts of this game. And for what I believe I'm hearing, we're playing this game unless Mother Nature herself basically brings down lightning. If it's safe, we're going to play the game. I know Coach Kurt, this means a lot to him and a lot to his girls. They want to play this game, and so does Akron North. They know just how important this night is, even though it is not someone from their own community. So shout out to both those schools for putting on that great event. Follow my socials. It'll be SmeeSports on Instagram and Twitter, where I post the majority of my interviews, calls of the game, stuff like that, from my work at Holen M Broadcasting and Key on Sports. And this summer, I'm hoping to do some kind of games for local travel teams for softball and baseball. If you're a coach who's looking for someone to cover some games, please message me on Instagram and Twitter. I would love to work out logistics with you to get the ball rolling on that, as we have a couple short months until we get to summer ball. Some exciting times coming up here at SmeeSports. But with that, thank you for watching this longer form video. Hoping to do this every week to bring you UFL content. But until next time, thanks for tuning in. Have a good day. Peace.